Hello and welcome back to the third video in my series regarding the design and hopeful construction of Simpit panels. My name is TeaCypher. I am presently working towards showing how to create this this panel from the A8B Harrier in DCS using Fusion 360. In previous videos we looked at the basics of where to get the resources. We had a look at the basic construction of the metal plate. And now for the third one, what we're going to look at is we're going to continue our Fusion 360 basics, and we're going to create a cutout drawing for our switch. We're going to export this as a DWG file, which is which basically means drawing, but it's a file format. We're going to open our previous model that we created last time. We're going to create a drawing with a pattern feature. We're going to import the cutout DWG. We're going to move the cutout around. And then what we're going to do finally is we're going to use the 3D cutout operation, or I believe it's called extrude again in this package, to actually put the cutouts into the panel we've created. So moving on, just a quick reminder of what our aim is. So our aim is to create the fuel panel for the AV8B Harrier, as seen in DCS, and on the right hand on the screen now you can see images of information I found, research I've done. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be looking at creating a cutout drawing. For that we're going to be using Fusion 360 as the previous video we did, and I've just started a new it afresh, and this is how it looks when you create a open Fusion 360 for the first time. So all I'm going to do at this moment in time is I'm going to create a simple drawing for the actual cutout switch itself. So drawing itself, again I repeat what I did previously. I'm going to click the drawing icon there, and I'm going to just select the top plane. Done. Okay, now the actual what shape we're going to be doing, there's the question. So if I open the specification for the switch and we go down, we'll get to the cutout drawing here. We can see the details for the switch. This is the cutout drawing. So we can see what we're going to need is a 12mm circle hole. So back to Fusion 360, and I'm going to just click create a center diameter circle. I'm just going to use the center point for this function. So drag out a circle, bang. Okay, and then as previously shown, we're going to dimension it to 12mm. Okay, so according to the cutout drawing, that is everything, because like we saw in the cutout drawing, we have just a simple 12 diameter. It's slightly more complicated. If I take us to the picture, you can see in the middle we have a photo of the plate that goes on top of the switch. We won't be using that plate as such in this project, but what it does show us is the cutout in a little bit more detail, and what we can see is there's a little tooth in the top center of it. It's called a keying feature, and basically that allows us to orientate the switch inside the hole. So if we go back to Fusion 360, next we're going to create that feature. Okay, so I have a caliper handy, vernier caliper, and what I've done is I've measured and quantified that feature. So what I'm going to do for this moment is I'm going to create a 2-point rectangle around about there. That would do us for starters. And I've measured the deformation, and I know that this is 2mm wide. Okay. Now to make sure it's center, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then create a dimension between there, and that's 1mm wide. Now I could go through the process I did before, creating a construction line and creating a symmetry feature constraint, but because of the way I'm going to use this, I've realized it's better off just to create the actual pure parts that I need, the lines I need, because when construction lines are imported back in, they appear solid lines and it causes faffage and having to mess around. Okay, so the next part, the actual tooth is away from the center line by about 5mm as I've measured it. So there we go. So now we've got most of the parts and information I need for this cutout. Final thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use a new feature we didn't use previous, I don't think, which is the trim function. This allows us to remove unwanted lines. Okay, you will get warnings about constraints disappearing and such like, and sometimes you do lose important dimensions, but this time everything stayed in place. So we now have, pressing escape, all the information for our cutout. And if I flick back to the picture, we can just see again that cutout is in the top center, as opposed to with the PDF where it didn't actually show the cutout, the key feature at all. So Fusion 360 again. What we're going to do now, we're going to export this as a DWG file. The reason you want to export it is because you can then re-import this in to other drawings, other models and things. And this is very useful. Yes, you could, for every single panel you do, create your cutouts for every single switch individually, but that's time consuming. We're much better off creating a template of the port, the cutout, that we can then import into any panel we create in the future, so you don't have to rework your cutouts. It's saving time. So what we're going to do, we're going to close this sketch. Okay, and just to remind you, we can reopen a sketch by right-clicking and selecting Edit Sketch there, or down here. And then what we're going to do, we're going to right-click on it and do a Save as DXF. Okay, so at the moment, I have none. Okay, so this is just my folder instruction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as a DXF. Where am I going to save it, I wonder? What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Cutouts. Okay, going to open it up, and I'm going to put 12mm toggle switch cutout. I'm going to save it. Okay, and that's it done. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to close this. Shouldn't need to save this, so I can close this. So we've now created our cutout. The next stage is we're going to reopen our previous file we created, the previous drawing we did. So I'm just going to click File, Open, and then here we can see, if I look here on the right hand side, I've got all my templates I created for you last time, and I'm going to select the 9 aluminium DCS aluminium plate. Open. Okay, so this is what I created previously for you guys. We didn't include these screw holes here, and I'll remove them in a second. I'll show you that. But the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything else, I'm going to do a Save As. And I want to select where I want to save it. So Admin Projects. And I'm going to create a new folder here. No, I'm not. I think I've got Fuel Panel. There we go. I'm going to save it as Fuel Panel Video Aluminium Plate. So now I've got this saved. Now, what you can do if you are importing mine and you don't want to use these features, you can simply right click and delete it, or in my case what I'm going to do is I'm going to suppress it. So how do we do about getting those cutouts onto our aluminium plate? Right, so what we're going to do, create a sketch again. So I'm going to create a sketch, but instead of selecting one of these planes here, what I'm going to do is select the top face of the previous model we created. And now we're creating a drawing on that top. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a point. This might not make sense at the moment. I'm going to create one point there. Excellent. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pattern, because if I look to my pictures, we can see in the picture that even though in DCS we have one hole which is a bit offset downwards, if I look on the actual real picture on the left hand side, we can see it's actually just a simple 2x3 grid of holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rectangular pattern, and I'm going to select what I want to pattern. So I'm going to want to pattern this point here. Okay, and I'm going to want it to go, so at the moment it's highlighting this arrow. I believe it's this one up here. Oh, hang on, I'm not showing Fusion 360, apologies. So I created my point, went create pattern. So this is showing the direction this pattern's going in at the moment. So it's going 3, and I want to make it, if I come across on the right, I want to change it from extents to spacing, okay, because it's just my preferred way. And I'm going to start playing with the dimensions a bit. So let's say 50 millimeters apart for starters. Okay, the direction is the wrong direction, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it -50. Okay, looks a bit too far, so I'm going to bring it down to 40. And these dimensions, I'm going to be a bit arbitrary at the moment. I will be going back over this and selecting more appropriate dimensions later, but at the moment I'm just trying to show you the process. So next we want a pattern in the other plane, so going upwards, this plane here. So on the right here, I'm going to select a quantity of 2, not 3, and I'm going to have it going up. Let's try 40 again, and I'm going to go -40 because I can tell by the way the arrows are pointing it's not going to take me in the right direction. Okay, so now I have a set of 4 points. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a construction line because I want to make sure this is centered. So did this before, making sure you get that little triangle to say its midpoint. Escape to close that bit. Line, change it into construction, and I'm going to repeat the process for on the horizontal plane. And finally what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this line here, so right click the whole point and right click the construction line while holding it. So left click the whole point and left click the construction line while holding control, and I'm going to select constraints up here, and I'm going to make it coincident, which means it's aligned. Okay, and as a final one, I'm going to use a symmetrical constraint between these points and this line here. Okay, I could of course manually set the dimension there. Now I can, by double clicking on this little feature here, go back and adjust my pattern, but as things look there, that doesn't look too bad for what we want to achieve. So next part, I'm just going to click save again, just so I'm going to click finish sketch and save, just to make sure I don't lose anything, because Fusion 360 does crash occasionally. And now I'm going to go back into my drawing. Okay, this is where the cutout comes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select insert, insert DXF. Okay, plane, it's in the sketch, one selected already, open here, and here we can see cutouts, and here's the DXF file that I previously exported. So click open, and it brings it in. Okay, it's created it down there, so it's not perfectly located, but what I can do, I can just have a look here, I can actually physically move it. So I'm going to just move it here for now and click OK. So that's brought the DXF in. At the moment, for my view, it's upside down. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go left click and create a box around it. Left click, dragging right, selects only stuff inside the box. Left clicking, dragging left, selects everything that is even partially in the box. So going back again, left click left. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go modify, and I'm going to carry out a move copy operation. And the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it around 180 degrees so the cutout's on the top. Okay, and then what I can do is, again, I can move it like this. So I'm just going to click OK for that for the moment, and I'm going to reselect it, carry out another move operation, and this time what I'm going to do is select a point-to-point movement. Okay, so select origin point, so I want to move it from this point here, select a target point, and I'm going to move it to that point there. Then OK. So now we have our cutout in place. Now what we could do, I'll be honest, we could just create a rectangular pattern of this cutout, use those dimensions in that project before, and it'd be all in the right place. Now I'm not going to do that because you might well find that different switches have different cutouts. So what I'm going to do is go do a move copy feature instead. So selecting it all again here, and again move copy again, and I'm going to go point to point. But this time what I want to do is I want to come downwards, and I'm going to select create a copy, and I'm going to select origin point. So make sure select origin point selection is highlighted. Select point 1, select point 2. Okay, and that's created the copy. Okay, and I'm going to basically repeat this same approach again, but to do the other points. Like I said, in some ways it might well have been better just to do a pattern process. You can, by the way, do the move commands, then create the copy function there. Okay, so that gives us the 4 ports in our sketch. I'm just going to finish the sketch now. Of course, we can use dimensions to look at these points. You don't even need to do the points. You could just literally copy in the import the cutout in and just move it directly. But I'm trying to show you multiple features. But now we have our sketch finished on our model. So I'm just going to click this little housey building to give us a nice view. Final thing we're going to do today is we're going to create the cut function. Now, some places you might see it called cut. Different software packages use different terminology. I'm just going to, so in this case, all you can do is click cut, extrude, okay, and what the operation is over here, it's going to be a cut operation, and it's coming from the profile plane. Direction, it's going in, it's one-sided, and distance, now you can type in a distance you want it to go, or you can go through all, and then finally objects to cut. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create it just two-sided because that should make it actually behave. Of course it would be helpful to select what I want to actually cut. So the very things you want to do, select what you want to actually cut, the shape you want to cut. And it doesn't need to be symmetrical at all, it can just be one-sided. It's going through all. Okay, and there we have our panel with our holes. Now this could be well be the end of your journey into making a plate. We have our cutouts. You could machine this out of aluminium, you can machine this out of plastic, you can machine this out of MDF, whatever you want. Cut these little holes in and assemble your switches in and go, yeah, I'm happy. And if you're using VR, that would possibly quite easily be enough. But although this is the end of this video, video will be continued, and in the next video we'll start to look at the acrylic plates that will go on top. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please feel free to like, subscribe, or do all that jazz if you want to, and hopefully I'll be back with you with another video very soon.